These signs represent the process of making brandy, which begins with the harvesting of grapes and proceeds to distillation, barrel production, aging, blending, and bottling. The first two processes, harvesting of grapes and distillation, are done in our three branches. By the way, we don't have our own vineyards, but we buy the grapes every year. It's a special social program. We have partnership contracts with Armenian wine growers, and we buy the grapes in the three regions every September. And we use only Armenian grape varieties, white grape varieties. The next process, distillation, is done in the three branches, and we have our own barrel making workshop in Ararat region. But by the way, the wood for the barrels comes from the Tavush region, from the north of Armenia. We have aging workshops everywhere in the branches and also here in the main factory. And the last two, the most important processes, blending and bottling, are done exclusively here in Yerevan, in the main factory. So now let's go to the presentation. I will tell you about the whole process in Yes, the first process, harvesting of grapes, takes place in September to October. Only local indigenous varieties of white grapes are used in the production. Garandamak, Voskehat, Gambun, Dana, Slava, Mishala. Collected grapes are pressed, and each separate grape juice is sent along its own way to a fermentation tank. Different grape varieties do not get mixed. After 10 days of fermentation, the grape juice turns into young white dry wine having 10 to 12% of alcohol. Later, through distillation, it becomes brandy spirit, eau de vie, which means water of life. Ararat has preserved the traditions of brandy production since 1887, and since that time, wine is distilled by French double distillation. The method of double steam distillation, Charentaise distillation, the flavors and aromas are preserved. So, during the first distillation, wine turns into a spirit having 34% alcohol. During the second stage of distillation, they cut off the upper part of the distillate, it is called head, the lower tail, leaving only the middle part, the heart. This is a spirit having 72% alcohol. That's the brandy spirit, the eau de vie. It is placed into oak barrels for aging, and the aging process lasts for a minimum of 3 years. The next process is called boupage, or blending. Our blending masters combine different spirits produced from different grapes of different ages. It means they take spirits from different barrels. For example, for our 20-year-old brandy, they take 22 different spirits. The youngest spirit is 7 years old, the oldest one is 48 years old. They blend, they mix all of these 22 different spirits, and on the bottle you see the average age, the weighted average. It's very important that there is always a bouquet, a composition of different spirits. And they also add water from a natural spring, undistilled water, and brandy contains 40% alcohol. Our ordinary brandies contain 40%. Then the finished bouquet is sent to the goods in huge oak barrels. It is when the spirits assimilate and maintain the best balance and harmony of the aromas. It lasts from 3 months to 1 year for ordinary brandies. We call this process mariage. And at the end, brandy is chilled at -12, filtered twice, and voila, it can be bottled. The 20-year-old brandy is here. brandy spirit. The spirit should remain there for a minimum of 3 years. There is no maximum. The longer the better. Because during the aging process, the spirit is enriched with the natural flavors of vanilla, chocolate, caramel, dried fruits, flowers, honey, cinnamon, and many other spices. They all come from the wood, from the old Caucasian oak. So nothing is added during the aging process. And also the color comes from the wood. The older the spirit, the darker the color. However, throughout the time when the spirit is in the barrels breathe. And every year, 2 to 4% of the spirit escape from the barrel through evaporation. Now, these barrels contain 400 to 500 liters. For instance, 421 liters of brandy spirit. It means that from each barrel, we lose about 20 liters every year. But the barrels must be always full. So we top them up with the same spirit every winter from another barrel. You know, this is a heavy price to pay, but producers know that it is the only way to attain high quality. And this natural evaporation is poetically known as the angel's share. So if you feel alcohol in the air, that's for angels. You can breathe it, and you'll be forever in a good mood, and always young. Dear guests, one of the most important and interesting places is the corner of the Peace, and this is our Peace Barrel. It was founded in 2001 when the Minsk Group visited our factory. This OSCE Minsk Group was created to encourage a peaceful, negotiated resolution to the conflict between Nagorno-Karabakh, the second flag, and Azerbaijan. And these are the co-chair countries of the group: France, Russia, and the United States. And of course, Armenia is always with us. Inside the barrel, there is spirit from 1994. This is the year of the ceasefire of that conflict. Our peace barrel will be opened when the conflict will be peacefully resolved. You know that during the long maturation period, the spirit becomes better, of course. But this is the only barrel in the whole factory which we hope to open as soon as possible. And we top it up with the same spirit every year. Still our guests sign for the peace of the world. They leave their messages here. And you know, this is the only place in Armenia where we can see the flag of Azerbaijan. Presidents and prime ministers from different countries. So it's a tradition of putting a barrel in honor of the official visit of a president, for example. So here we have barrels for example, the former president of Austria, Yerevan, three presidents from Poland, three from Russia, three from Lithuania, our president, Greece, Czech Republic, Serbia, Georgia, the Prince of Monaco, the Prime Minister of Belgium, and so on. If a president or a prime minister want to have his brandy, so we have to make a blend, because you know there's just the spirit inside which contains 72% alcohol. It's not a good idea to drink the spirit. We have to make a bouquet, a brandy, and we'll send them the bottles with brandy. But they are usually clever. They know the longer the spirit remains in the barrel, the better. So we keep their spirits here and they're waiting for the brandy.
So what happens to these, for example?
It's normal. You know, if it's too much, we can repair the barrel. But this is normal. At the end, we work up the barrel with steam with 100 degrees Celsius for around 20 minutes. This leads to wood swelling, and they check the quality of the steel. And they also pour hot water to make sure, yes. Here we had another tradition to weigh the president Here we can see the first floor of our real cellar, so I mean our aging workshop. It's a four-story building with about 15,000 barrels, but we have aging workshops in all the branches because we want to keep our reserves evenly distributed due to Armenian seismic risk as well, and we have 40,000 barrels total. 40,000. Please pay attention to the color of the barrels. They are dark, it means they are old. These barrels are 50 to 70 years old. And here we keep the natural temperature. We don't control temperature. In the winter it's cold, in the summer it's warm enough. But in the summer there is about 8% alcohol in the air. The angel share is so much that we can't keep smiling at the end of the day.
That's why they don't listen to my prayers. No, but what's the age of the spirits inside?
We change barrels. So there are two barcodes on the barrels, and we get information through these barcodes because I can tell you the age of these barrels, but the spirit is always different. We pour it periodically to an older barrel. And there is the aging workshop, but to paradise, to heaven, because there we keep the whole collection of our bottles in Spanish and too. I will show a part here in the museum, just to mention that it is called a paradise. And here on the wall you can see our famous guests. Celebrities who visited our factory. For example, George Clooney was here 2 years ago, Patricia Kaas, John Malkovich, Sean Aznavour, Michel Platini. Ornella Muti, Emil Kusturica, George Benson. So here guys, now a little about our history. So you know that Ararat is a modern brand in the world, but it has a rich history and it dates back to the year 1887. And that year brandy production was started by the Armenian merchant Nerses Kaelian. On the side of the former fortress of Yerevan, and it was on the other side of the bridge. You know, there is another factory today. In 1899, the factory was bought by Russian industrial company Shustov and Sons. It was a famous Russian spirits and wine business of the time, and they became the official supplier of the Russian emperor court. Nikolai Shustov had a very interesting marketing strategy. He hired some students, dressed them expensively, and sent them to tour the best restaurants of Europe, accompanied by beautiful women. In those restaurants, the students ordered the most expensive dishes there, an impressive dinner, and at the end, of course, they ordered Armenian brandy. Nobody had heard about the Armenian brandy at that time. The students reacted with indignation that there was no Armenian brandy available. So how is it possible you don't have Armenian brandy here? And they just left the restaurant. The next day, the whole administration of the restaurant looked for Armenian brandy. So that was a very smart method of Shustov, a good marketing by which it was spread in Europe. In 1920, the factory was nationalized, as all the factories were. Since 1953 we are here in this building. And since 1998 we are a member of Pernod Ricard group of alcoholic beverages. Do you know that group? It's an international group with French roots, the world leader of premium alcohol production. The members are, for example, the first French cognac Martel, Jameson, Ballantine's, Beefeater, Absolute Vodka, Becherovka, and so on. So Pernod Ricard is a group of different premium alcohol beverages. These two barrels are the oldest barrels of our factory. The first Armenian brandy, Fin Champagne Selected, produced in 1902, was kept here. In 1907, that brandy was awarded a bronze medal and that diploma in the French city of Bordeaux. And that medal is very important for us because it was the last one which won as cognac. Because since 1909, only the brandies which are produced in the French region Charente may be called cognac. So cognac is a kind of brandy, but only from that region of France. Since that time are called Armenian brandy. But we use the same technology as the French cognac, so we are called cognac in Armenia. For our local market, they say cognac. These two barrels are now full of a young spirit, so we could keep them as a museum piece, otherwise they would dry out. In order not to lose the oldest spirit from 1902 because of the evaporation, we poured it into glass vessels. I will show you the demijohns. They are called demijohns, but here you can see our last gold medal is from Germany. It was the Berlin International Spirits Competition 2017. And our 6-year-old brandy, Annie, was awarded there with this medal. There we have another important medal from San Francisco. It was the World Spirits Competition 2016 and our 10-year-old brandy Ahtamar won it. You're going to taste that brandy today, by the way. Here we have the evolution of our bottles and also the demijohns, these glass vessels where we keep the old spirits. For example, 1902 is the spirit from those two barrels. 1914, 1917 and so on. We use them only for some exclusive brands. We add some drops in the blend of exclusive old brands. This bottle is the oldest bottle with the first Armenian cognac, Fin Champagne Selected, produced in 1902. But that cognac is just 7 years old. It was 7 when it was bottled, because brandy or cognac in glass bottles stops aging. No matter how long the bottle is kept, the brandy will remain the same, in this case aged 7 years. Dear guests, I would like to tell you about this brandy. It is called Dvin. Dvin was the capital of Armenia in medieval times, and Dvin is one of our strongest brands. It contains 50% alcohol. This is the first design of Dvin, and it was created in 1945 by special order for the Yalta Conference. On the Yalta Conference, Winston Churchill tasted this brandy for the first time, and he liked it so much that after that Stalin sent him a big amount of this brandy. They say it's 300 bottles a year. It means a bottle a day, almost. And there's a legend about Churchill. When he was asked, what is the secret of your long life? He answered, never be late for dinner, always smoke Cuban cigars, drink brandy every day, and no sports. He lived 91 years. Churchill, and here we have another legend about this monster. Do you know the town Dilijan? It's in the north. The wood comes from this region, and they call this region the Switzerland of Armenia because it's very beautiful there, the nature. So on the way to Dilijan, there is a huge oak tree, and people had picnics underneath the tree, and they poured leftover alcohol into the root. Many years passed, there was a huge lightning strike which felled the tree. The root was torn out of the ground and looked like this monster. Of course, we'll fix this one up a little bit. But the lesson of the story is that in order not to look like this monster, we should drink in moderation. The Yerevan Brandy Company is for responsible drinking, not a bottle a day, like Churchill. So, otherwise we would deliver. Because you know that each brandy is a composition of different spirit, that's why here I compared it to music. It's a part of the nocturne of our Armenian composer Ararat. Brandy is always a blend, a bouquet of different spirits. And here you can open and smell the main flavors of our brandies. And everything comes from the wood, from the old Caucasian oak. Nothing is added, just for you to experience the aromas. We have dried fruits, chocolate, walnut and almonds, so prune, dried peaches, cinnamon, vanilla and orange peels. So dear guests, this is our range of brandies. So we have standard brandies, premium, super premium, ultra premium, collectional, exclusive. So now I'm going to show you our range. These two brandies are called standard brandies. They have stars. They are called 3 stars, 5 stars. It means 3 years old, 5 years old. Then we have 3 premium brandies, and they have already geographical names of Armenia. So Ararat is the name of the brand, but each brandy has its own name. The 6-year-old premium brandy is called Ani. Ani was a capital, a former capital of Armenia. This brandy won the gold medal in Germany last year, by the way. And we usually make cocktails with this brand. It's a new trend in the world. They make cocktails with relatively young brandies, and we use usually the 6-year-old brandy Ani for our cocktails. The second premium brandy is called Emptied, which means selected. You can also see Odborny in other countries. When we export it, it's called Odborny, it means selected. This is our first cognac, which was created in 1902. It was just renamed into selected. The third premium brand is called Ahtamash, which was an island in West Armenia. The 10-year-old brandy won the gold medal in San Francisco 2 years ago. This is our gold medal, our classical, we can say classical brandy. Today you are going to taste the 3-year-old brandy and the 10-year-old. And you can compare the colors. Then you'll see the difference in the taste as well. Then we have 3 super premium brandies. Vaspurakan, 15 years old. It's one of the smoothest brandies in our range. 20 years old. And it's very popular in Armenia. It's also very smooth. Usually the older, the smoother. And the third one is the Churchill brandy Dvin. Here we don't mention the age on the bottle. It's written collection reserve. It means the average age is here 10, but the resting period, this mariage process, is longer than here. So ordinary brands rest maximum 1 year, collectional brands minimum 3 years. That's why Dvin is darker than even the 20-year-old brandy. and it is stronger, 50% alcohol. The brandy Armenia is also a collection brandy. It means the average is 10 years, but the resting period is also minimum 3 years, and it's also strong, 45% alcohol, and you can find it in Armenia. It's a full limited edition. You can find it only in Armenia. And another one which is also only for Armenian market is the brand Yerevan. Again, strong. It's the strongest one. 57% alcohol content. It's really strong. It was printed in 1947 by special order to be sent to the North Pole, to Siberia for some expeditions to keep the people warm. That's why it was so strong. And this year is the 2800th anniversary of our capital, Yerevan. That's why we have it again, because we didn't have it for a long time after the Soviet period. And we have it again, but only for a year or maybe longer, but it's also of a limited edition. So these two brands you can find only in Armenia, and we can make a customized label for them. We can put a name on it or happy birthday or something. So we can write something on the bottle. Here we have an exclusive brandy. It is called an ultra premium brandy, Yerevan, 30 years old. Yerevan is the first name of Yerevan. And here in this blend we have 30 different brand spirits from different barrels. The oldest one is from 1934. But here, this is the only brandy where we have another blend. In the blend, we have another blend. So we don't mix just different spirits. We add a 22-year-old brandy in the blend. That's why it's really a special one. Of course, the most expensive one. And a very special brandy which we produced with a cooperation with Charles Aznavour and his family. It is called Charles Aznavour Signature Blend. Mr. Aznavour decided himself which spirits are in the blend. The spirits are from the main years of his life. For example, the first performance in Paris of Charles Aznavour, 1956. The years of his hits and so on. He decided which spirits are in the blend, and also the design. He gave his signature for the bottle, and also the colors. You see, all of our bottles have like brown colors, the boxes and so on. This one is black with white and red highlights, because these are the colors of his clothes, with his appearance on the scene. So it's a nice cooperation, and the brand is 25 years old, by the way, 40% alcohol content. What you are going to taste, how you should taste, and then you can enjoy your brands. So first of all, we should choose a proper type of glass. It is called a cognac snifter. It has a tulip shape, so the bouquet of aromas remains in the glass, because this shape releases all the aromas here and then retains them at the edges of the glass. And it should have a short leg so we can warm the brandy in our hands. In Armenia, we hold the glass in the left hand. Do you know why? It's closer to the heart, and it's warmer. Then we can put the glass on the table to check the volume. There are 20 to 25 milliliters. It will not spill on the table. You can try. Just put it on the table. This is the right amount for the releasing of the bouquet. It shouldn't be too much. 20 to 25. You can just believe me. If you want to try, or you can. So, while tasting, please pay attention to the color of brandy, to its transparency and viscosity. Today, you know already that we're going to taste the 3-year-old brandy, the standard 3 stars, and the 10-year-old brandy premium Achtamar, which won a gold medal in San Francisco 2 years ago. Now, let's compare the colors. Achtamar, 10-year-old brandy, is much darker. But with age it gets darker. But you should start with the youngest brandy. We always start with the youngest brandy because the younger, the simpler the bouquet. There are about 3 different